You didn't hear me before, I want to give a warm welcome and good afternoon to everybody. My name is Henrik Hansen and I represent the Danish data center industry. And we're happy to have this webinar together with our good partners, Business France and France Data Center. And we're looking into the perspectives of the two different markets, and we will also give an update on the European outlook for investments, but also give you an insight on a new innovative cooperation between some strong partners in the data center industry. So we'll get around to several topics this afternoon. Before we move into the program in detail, I would like to pass on the word to Joel Leik, who's Director of Business France Nordic, who is our good partner on this webinar. So welcome to you, Joel. Will you say a few words?
Thank you very much, Henrik. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for your participations. I'm Joel Leik, and I'm working together with Astrid Nielsen from Business France Denmark. And so you have the whole crew, Danish Data Center Industry, France Data Center, and Business France all together to build up a series of events. So we are very happy to have set up this webinar, which is the first one, and it is some kind of a follow-up of a mission that it's a journey that we have been started in 2019, and we wanted to forecast the follow-up before that, but it sounds like middle age to say that COVID has prevented us from doing it. So 4 or 5 years later, finally, we are very happy to move on and to continue the journey together with our partner. Today, so we're beginning a series of 3 milestone, I would say, online today, in Denmark in a few weeks, and in France in a few months, but we'll get back to it later. So on behalf of Business France, I just want to thank our dear partner, France Data Center and Danish Data Center Industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And let's move into the first topic then. Let me welcome Jovita from DC Byte, who will sort of give us a helicopter perspective on the European investment outlook, not just France and Denmark, but Europe in general. What are the developments there? So the word is yours, Jovita.
Thank you very much, Henrik, and thank you very much, Danish Data Center Industry Association and France Data Center for having the opportunity to participate. Christine, please could we have another slide? Christine, please could you click on it 4 times? And 1 more. Thank you so much. Nope. Back to the first one. One before? Yes. Thank you. I'm so sorry for complicating things. So if we would look into how 2023 has been for Europe in general, particularly if we would focus more on the Southern Europe, parts of Central Europe, East and Northeast of Europe, there are quite a few businesses that are still storing their data on premise in their corporate offices. And given what was lately happening in Europe, more and more businesses started to look for opportunities to place their servers within external parties, and therefore looking for opportunities to store their data sets either in colocation facilities or using private cloud, public cloud, or hybrid IT solutions. There also were some power limitations across largest of the European markets, and that's not only the FLAP-Ds. Not all of the markets had some power constraints. However, even the ones that did have power constraints seemed to attract huge demand into those markets, and FLAP-D markets were no exception. A lot of our demand was coming from high workload applications and artificial intelligence applications and type of companies. While there were some data center markets and the operators that were facing a huge interest from artificial intelligence type of demand, in some other markets, the data center operators anticipated that they will manage to attract artificial intelligence type of clients in their markets, and therefore they're developing facilities so that if a client comes, we would be able to accommodate them at a shorter term. There has been a growing demand for greater sustainability initiatives and reporting guidelines. So that was on overall European trend, as well as for individual markets, as well as previously mentioned, due to high artificial intelligence trends. A lot of data center operators were proactively talking about the measures that they will have to take in their facilities and upgrading mechanical and electrical equipment, cabling, and etc. To be able to accommodate higher density workloads, as to date, overall, there are not as many facilities that would be able to accommodate higher densities workloads within their facilities, at least to the scale that we would like to, without having actually upgraded them. Please, could you move on to a next slide? Thank you. I wanted to show you a comparison on how different markets across Europe performed in 2022 to 2023, but Europe has a bit too many countries, so I've tried to group them into different regions. Now, I know that some of the regions are not necessarily perceived as the data center regions, as they are as geographic regions. For example, Nordics versus Benelux, where clearly Amsterdam is taking the most of the capacity that you're seeing. But the overall trend across Europe was that the capacity that went operational in 2023 remained rather stable if compared to the previous years. And if we would dig in a bit more into this and look into year-to-year comparison, you would actually see that the growth from 2022 to 2023 in Europe has been 500 megawatts built and going live in the past year, while a year ago it has been 750, while a year prior it has been 900 megawatts. While the development cycles are kind of taking it similar, like a business cycle, where you would see higher figures one year, lower figures another year, and it may not necessarily have some sort of conclusion to add to it. In the longer term, it will be able to, we will be able to say whether that was a more natural data center growth cycle, or whether those power limitations that were happening across multiple different regions were actually affecting the data center markets, and that would be the reason into the decrease of the capacity that went live from year to year. But looking into those regions, so within every region, every market was taking on different capacities, but overall trend was that every market was seeing a lot of interest and growth. And if we would take Spain from the Iberian Peninsula, Spain is taking most of the live and operational capacity in the Iberian Peninsula. And if a couple of years ago, if we would be talking about a demand of 50 megawatts capacity, this huge capacity would be shocking the data center operators, because it's a huge requirement, whereas now it is still a big requirement for Spanish data center market. However, it's not as shocking as it used to be, and the market seems to be attracting a lot of hyperscale attention. Now, I'm a little bit unconscious about the time that I've got left. Therefore, if we could please move on to a different slide.
5 minutes, Rita.
And I wanted to show you just the overall trends that were happening, particularly across FLAP-Ds, but also some of the smaller markets, let's say even Nordics, where particularly in 2023, we've noticed that data center operators were trying to develop new data center regions, new availability zones located a bit further away from the primary clusters that may be affected by power limitations or land availability and costs. And London was no exception, where you can see that the new availability zones have been trying to be created east of London, while the primary data center cluster is located around Slough, Watford, Hemel Hempstead, as well as all the way to northern England, such as Manchester, as you can see in the other dot. But getting closer to the end of the year, we've noticed that there were more and more operators that were actually not trying to create a completely new data center availability zone, but rather extend the existing cluster and choose the locations that data centers were previously built in and try to just extend on it. Please, if we could move to the next slide. Thank you. And this slide just illustrates the sort of investment announcements that we've heard about in 2023, and I took example on Lefar, Google, and Microsoft. So of course there will be a lot more of them. So as you can see, there has been huge investments announced for Spain, UK, Greece, quite large investments from Norway and Finland this year. But just the fact that it's not mentioned in this particular slide this year doesn't mean that there isn't interest in any other particular market. I don't know, Henrik, if you will touch base on this, but for example, if Microsoft announcement about building data centers in Denmark has came a while ago, and to our knowledge, only in the last time period when we were building the facilities in Denmark, we've created over 600 jobs, as well as the investment said that we will be planning on potential upscaling, digital upscaling around 200,000 Danes. So that just shows the huge commitments and huge investments that are coming into the market. But overall, if we would be looking into what we could expect in 2024, the trends would be very similar to what we've seen in 2023, but more focus to be on upgrading the data center facilities to be able to accommodate high artificial intelligence workloads. Unfortunately, power limitations problems will not be solved in such a short term, and it's something that will be gradually solved, and the data center operators will need to think of the strategies on how we can avoid certain limitations happening in the market. Thank you. I believe that will be from me.
Thank you very much, Rita. We'll get into more details on the particular two markets that we are focusing on today, so we can give you a little more insight also to the Microsoft investments in Denmark. But let's move to France and Geraldine and Com to give a view on the French market, the perspectives seen from your side. So welcome to you both.
Thank you very much, Henrik. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Geraldine Camara. I'm the Managing Director of France Data Center. And yes, let's start this presentation on the French market. I think it will be useful, as I see that maybe DC Byte doesn't have maybe all the information on the French market. I think it can give some useful information on what's going on in France. So the agenda of the presentation, will be as following. First, I will explain you a little bit what is France Data Center, our members, our activities, and the forecasts. The second point will be about the French market of data centers with the main figures from our first EY France Data Center Barometer 2023. We just launched our 2024 barometer, so we will again have new figures by June 2024. And the third part will be with Com about attractiveness of France, our strength for data centers in 2024. Next slide, please. So about France Data Center, we are a not-for-profit organization, of course, dedicated to the data center industry. Next slide. We have been founded in 2008, and since 2017, we are more organized, let's say. We have a board with 13 members and permanent employees. So now we are 4, including one trainee today. We have around 100 companies as members of our association, and they come from the whole value chain of the data center industry. So it means we have suppliers, operators, customers from the data center industry. We have big and smaller companies, global and national and regional and local companies that are located everywhere in Europe. In France, sorry. We also have working groups in the association. We have a public affairs committee, of course. We published 6 documents in 2023, one publication on cooling, another one on commissioning, another one on the regular questions and answers we want to give on the data center industry. Also, something interesting to mention is that we have a seat at the EU DCA board. So it's the European Data Center Association. And we also organize events, like we're organizing in a few days a job dating, which I hope it will be a success. And we also organize networking events. Next slide, please. So here is a mapping of our members. We decided that it could be interesting to have a map of the 100 members we have, according to whether they are in the design, building, operating part of the value chain of the data center industry. So here are all our members. You can also find this map on our website. Next slide, please. Yes, we also, as I said, organized important events like the one we organized in June 2023 with the French Ministry of Digital Affairs that we can find here. Also, the president of Choose Paris region was here. Her name is Alexandra Blanche, and it's a very important agency, of course, to attract investments in the Parisian region. We will see later that Paris is a very important part of the investments in France, but not only. So yes, and for this event, you can keep on leave. Yes, the previous picture. You can also see that we invited for this event our counterparts from Germany and the Netherlands, Norway, and also Italy, and we have relationships with other NTAs in the industry. Next slide, please. So about the French market of data centers, I will give some facts and figures coming from our barometer 2023 that that is based on a survey carried out with EY. So we worked together last year for this study, and the main figures are that in France today we have around 250 commercial data centers. I can also add that we have around 5,000 IT rooms in the country. Yes, I will explain later how it is distributed in the country. But the growth expected over the next 10 years is plus 11%, which is something very important as an economic sector. Also, and this will be interesting also to add to the DC ByTE study, what is expected as investments in France is about 12 billion euros invested in the country in the 10 coming years, which means around, more than 1 billion each year. And this will be mostly in the Parisian area. And as capacity installed, We have 566 megawatt as a capacity installed today. So this is the number for 2023, and yes, we are part of the FLAP market, as Paris is the P of FLAP. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So you can find on the left side the geographical locations of the 250 data centers in France. So as I said, mostly in the Parisian region. Also, there is Marseille, and then you also have Lyon, Bordeaux, and other cities, Strasbourg, Lille. So it's quite concentrated, but at the same time, we are the only country that has 2 hubs, maybe a third one with Bordeaux, but this is something interesting we have, and Côme will also explain that later. The growth in workforce for 2023 is expected to be plus 15%, which is important. We are hiring. This is also why we're organizing a job dating in a few days, and there is a lack of good and adapted employees in the industry, which is something important. And about energy efficiency, the average PUE is estimated between 1.5 and 2, in France, like in the world average. But of course, for new projects, well, they follow technological development, and the goal is to achieve, of course, equal or lower PUEs at 1.3. We have a few quotes from our study below. We have an operator here that says that they are forecasting over 30% of annual growth until 2030. And also a builder from, well, one of our members said that we currently have that they have currently visibility on 1.2 to 1.5 gigawatt of building projects in the next 10 years. So that's it for the EY and the France data center study. And now we will talk about the attractiveness of France. And I let my colleague Côme introduce himself and presenting some figures that we also have here.
Thanks, Geraldine. Hi, everyone. I'm Côme Chanteloup, so I'm a trainee in France Data Center, and one of my main mission was about attractiveness of the French market, and so I will present you some figures we had in this survey. Next slide, please. So first of all, let's talk about some figures and features about France. So France is one of the main countries of Europe, with the second largest economy in the EU, with a GDP per capita about 40,000 euro, and a population near 68 million inhabitants in France. And also France is a leading European country in FDI by number of projects. So it's we can say it's a land, it's a country who attract a lot of investments in the past year and the next years also. So next slide, please. So with the association France Data Center, we led a survey about the attractiveness of the French market of data center industry. So I will show you some results we had from our operators and customers from a global point of view, it's not based only on from the French point of view, but on a global view to have a great view about the data center industry. And so the survey was on two parts. One part where they were asked to rate a specific data center issue from 1 to 5 on the attractiveness of the French market, and the second part with more an interview. Next slide, please. So first of all, I would like to speak about energy. So we received some great rates about energy, like about our power supply capacities. So we received 4.38 out of 5. We also point out that we have one of the lowest electricity prices in Europe. And also, and maybe the most important one about environmental issue, because we have one of the lowest carbon intensity of electricity mix in Europe. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some figures from RTE. RTE is the National Electricity Transmission System Operator of France. And we can see with these figures, sorry, they are in French, but I can explain that we can see there is like over 90% of the energy, the electricity that is produced in France is low carbon intensity, thanks to the nuclear power of France. We can see there is a large proportion of nuclear power in France, with above 60% of the generation electricity generation in 2023 is nuclear. And we can see also a growing share of renewable energy in France, with wind turbines and solar panel. Next slide, please.
Just 1 minute left, Carl.
Yeah. So about connectivity, so we received also great rates about connectivity in France, with the deployment of many submarine cables. For instance, with their arrival on Marseille, for instance, a massive FTTH coverage and a great connectivity quality. Next slide, please. So there is a map where we can see Europe and the different submarine cables arrival, and we can see that France is a gateway to the world, with a connection with Africa, Asia, and America. And there is France is also strategic with this position in Europe, and is we can say France is the European crossroads for data between the south, the east, and the north of the continent. Next slide, please. Also here we can see that FTTH, that means fiber to the home. We can see with this map there is a great coverage in France, with more than 80% of the households are connected with fiber in many French departments. For instance, in the Paris region and Marseille region, where there is the most of the data center in France. Next slide, please. So to conclude, France is a great place to invest in data center from an energy point of view and a connectivity point of view, but also with some facts that there is for the moment no moratorium on data center in France, and it can be really difficult for country who have that kind of initiative in place. A very adaptive environmental regulation also. And France is also a large country with few natural hazards. So it's a huge advantage for France. There is not many earthquake or volcanic hazards in France. And also a huge willingness to develop AI with the initiative of the French government, who's called France 2030, which is an investment plan. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Geraldine and Com, for giving this insight to the French market, which is, of course, very interesting market, both in terms of the data center developments, but also then the connectivity and the high level of renewable energy, which is very interesting. So thanks a lot for your presentations, and let's move on to the Danish market. I'll pass on the word to my colleague, Marima Jarnic. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Henrik. Click. Yep. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, that's good. Hello, my name is Marima, and I'm the head of strategy and operations here at the Danish data center industry. I will just quickly go over the DDI and then give you a bit of an update from some of the recent highlights from a market report that we have done and are about to publish. So we were established in 2017, and today we are 100+ members. We're a relatively small data center market, so our members are the entire data center ecosystems, which includes the operators, vendors, investors, municipalities, universities, and so on. So we like to call it that we're representing the entire data center ecosystem here in Denmark. What we do, well, we do annual events, networking meetups, market intelligence. We promote our members. We work on different public affairs, regulatory landscape, and so on. So we have quite a few board subjects that we focus on, which is mainly sustainability and energy efficiency, skills and education, and then public affairs that I just mentioned. So that's just a quick introduction to who we are. We just finished our annual market report that looks into the market, gives a bit of an overview of what's going on, investments, trends, challenges, opportunities in the Danish data center market. And that report we are going live with at our annual conference, Data Centers Denmark, which is taking place on the 30th of April in Copenhagen. But I'll just give you today a bit of a snapshot from some of the key takeaways from this report. Next slide, please. So Denmark is, it's quite a humble figures compared to the France data center. We have a total installed megawatt of approximately 280 megawatts, and that's primarily hyperscale workloads. But the co-location segment is steadily growing, and we're also forecasting in the market report, we're seeing that there will be a double up of co-location workloads as well in the next few years to come. But primarily we are a hyperscale driven market, and usually when obviously we refer to the market, everybody says Copenhagen, but actually the majority of hyperscale workload is in Jutland, on the west side of the country, with a lot of the co-location workloads concentrated in the Copenhagen area. Next slide, please. These are just few investments. I appreciate that you probably cannot read them because they're quite small, but some of these investments represent the latest ones and some of the most recent expansion plans. The ones in green, they're one in operation or about to be in operation this year. The one in dark blue, which is recently acquired, Athnord, the Nordic data center provider, just entered the market last year. And we have a lot of activities going on the West Coast where there's a lot of acquired land. And the light blue is all of the operators or investors who have acquired land. And we actually have more than that. This is not an exhausted list, but this is just to illustrate that there's a lot of activity going on and there is a lot also in the pipeline for Denmark. For operations. So we've grown quite a lot over the past, ever since Apple decided to invest in Viborg. It's been quite an attractive data center market, specifically for hyperscalers, but in recent years, we're also seeing a lot of investments coming from colos, and also the existing colos are also expanding their data center footprint. Next slide, please. I will get back to heat reuse, but this is just a map to illustrate some of the projects. Heat reuse is a huge topic in Denmark. We have one of the world's most reliable grids and district heating systems. So it is very much optimal for data centers to reuse their heat. There has been some challenges and continues to be challenges in this arena. We'd like to see more, but more and more data center operators are gearing their data centers and designing them for future heat reuse, but challenges still remain that are outside of operator scope that we are looking into, and I will come back to that later. But it's very positive that we have a lot of these both large-scale investors, but also some of the colo operators and also even enterprises looking into reusing their data center excess heat. And recently, I just added a logo of Microsoft, as you can see, because it was literally yesterday that they announced that their data center in Tostrup will reuse their excess heat, which is really positive to see that development. And of course, Meta has already had one of the largest data center heat reuse installments in Odense and continues to heat, I think, approximately 7,000 homes so far. So this is just a really good development that we're seeing from the market, and it's something that we're supporting very much, and we would like to remove the remaining technical and business barriers that still exist, but we'll get back to that a bit later. Next slide, please. So just from the market report, the next 2 slides, I will quickly go through it. We surveyed some both end users, but also operators for this market report. And what we're seeing is a very interesting shift on the end user sides, because that will impact our industry. We're seeing increasingly cloud costs are going off the roof in recent years, which is prompting end users to look into alternatives ways and perhaps even scale some applications back to on-prem. And when I'm saying on-prem, I don't necessarily mean in their own facility, but on-prem in co-location sites. Cloud lock-in, vendor lock-in has been also an issue that a lot of enterprise end users in Denmark are experiencing, and therefore they are looking to become more efficient by embracing a more hybrid IT strategy, meaning that they would co-locate some of their workloads in a co-location data center, but also have some applications in the cloud, and in some instances also on site. But that's very rare, and it's very much to the larger organizations. Then there is obviously the buzzword of the year. There's a lot of uncertainty around AI and where that will land. We expect a lot of data center investments to come from the tech companies into Denmark as they're scaling out their AI services. But in terms of from the enterprises, they're still a bit not I wouldn't say skeptical, but they're a bit hesitant, because what they did with cloud 10 years ago, that they went all in on cloud and that was great. But what happened is that in some instances they were over provisioned, so they don't want to find themselves in the same position with AI before they see the actual where it lands. So there is a lot of uncertainty in terms of AI and how that will impact IT infrastructure strategies around the enterprises. And then at the same time as AI is being rolled out, that would require more data center capacity. IT leaders also need to balance ESG and sustainability with the added footprint of their IT load. So those are some of the takeaways from the enterprises that we're recording and seeing at the moment. Next slide, please. On the operator side, colos there are experiencing increased demand for capacity. Vacancy rates are at an all-time low. Simply put, we need more data center capacity in Denmark because of the sheer volume of, especially obviously coming from AI and cloud as well. That is in turn also increasingly changing data center design and operations as operators are investing in new technologies to basically gain more for further efficiency gains. They're introducing liquid cooling. That has been the talk of the town for a few years now, but it's finally coming to the stage where densities are at such reaching high levels where you can justify the investment in a new cooling setup. So that's also something that operators are increasingly looking into or already are implementing as we speak. Total cost of ownership is also being impacted by AI workload infrastructure requirements, obviously due to the investments into new power and cooling management systems, but also very much on the construction side. That's not just for data centers operators in Denmark, but in general, construction has gone off the roof because of materials. Concrete has gone up quite a lot. So that is obviously adding pressures to the TCO of the operators, and that's obviously being put to the end customers, which is why we're experiencing a lot of the price increases in cloud. And then, yeah, as I just mentioned earlier, not just in terms of efficiency inside of the data centers, operators are also looking into finding ways to be more sustainable and uplifting their profile by using their excess heat or helping the grid by participating in the grid for grid balancing purposes. So that is something that's very much in focus for the data center operators in Denmark, but also in Europe. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what Jovita mentioned earlier. So those are some of the really quickly, I didn't have much time left, some of the key challenges, but also opportunities on the Danish data center market. And as I mentioned, the market report will be coming out on the 30th of April in Copenhagen. I will skip those next two slides because we don't have that much time left. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marina. And now we have heard about the growth rates in both France and Denmark and also throughout Europe. We have heard about some constraints, some limitations to the power accessibility. We hear about some regulatory demands that are increasing. We have the determination of reaching net zero by 2030. So I'm happy to invite Linda from Data4 to maybe give some of the answer on how do we actually realize all these targets, ambitions by cooperating at a European level. So a warm welcome to you, Linda. You will present the Net Zero Innovation Hub.
Yeah, thank you, Henrik. I'm very, very pleased to present this initiative. Net Zero Innovation Hub is an initiative started in 2023, and I would say mainly 6 months ago. And this initiative is targeting the acceleration of technical solution, aiming at decreasing carbon emission in this digital sector and specifically into data centers. And just to introduce myself, so I'm in charge of innovation at Data4 level. So as you probably know, Data4 is one of the major colocation actor in Europe. So just you probably know all about that, but DC industry have to face a bad reputation in Europe. First, because we are the visible part of all the digital industry, and sometimes also due to a lack of understanding of the fact that we are supporting all this infrastructure of digital services, but also because we are consuming huge resource specifically in energy, and huge resource also because we are a young sector, and we are in development. So for sure, we are consuming some resource, energy, electricity specifically, also land usage, and finally all the other resource like mineral resource for construction of equipment and building, of course. So we can see emerging regulation on those different topics. Regulation on heat reuse, energy efficiency, environmental reports. And so we have to admit that we are growing very fast, sometimes too fast, and that we are making a significant contribution to the environmental impact, to the energy consumption in different regions, different countries. So we have to concede that it is not always easy to change our way of building the data center. It is not always easy to explore innovation, technical innovation, because everything is going very fast, and we are supporting the digital industry into development. So individually, all our companies are convinced that we need to take part to fight against the climate change. And now we also convinced that collectively we can pull our skills and resources to move faster. And that's the reason of the Net Zero Innovation Hub. We think that we can do better together, and we can demonstrate project and solution thanks to it. So what is the Net Innovation Hub? First, it's a place where we can discuss about technologies, where we can identify how to do better. And the target is decarbonization and grid stabilization initiative. So clearly the focus is on technology, on market solution. And what we want to do in this hub is to support solutions that can be scalable across Europe, and that we can accelerate in the implementation. So it's clearly a neutral meeting place. You will see that we are different type of actors in this Net Zero Innovation Hub, sometimes competitors. And what we want is to get this collaboration on the same target, means decarbonization. So that's the list of the current funding partners. So Danfoss, who is providing equipment and for cooling, Google, Microsoft, Schneider Electric, Data4, and Vertiv. The hub is open, but the target is to have members very convinced by the challenge and align on that point. So that's the name of the director and of the board, and you can see that it is mainly people really ensure into a technical part. So no lobbying people, more most of the time is only a person in charge of design, construction, and innovation. So we have identified from now 2 priorities. The first one, as you can see, is heat reuse. For a lot of reasons, you already know that. But what I want to say is 100% of the electricity consumed by server is always available as energy. 100% is available. And so our goal is to see how we can circulate this energy, recirculate this energy to the territory. It could be, and it should be, through heating network, but in most of the case, heating network are not available, and in most of the case, heating network will not be able to get 100% of the available energy from the data center. So we want to find other solution to provide this heat to the local community. The second topic is about grid capacity, grid network capacity. And what we want to demonstrate is how data center can contribute to the stability of this European electricity grid network and production. So finally, just to summarize, this hub is the place where we want to demonstrate and accelerate solutions. It is a complementary approach to existing trade association, but we don't want to make direct lobbying. We prefer to say that we are here as a tool to demonstrate how we can do, and also to support our common point of view on different topics, specifically on environmental topics. And it can be supporting our, I would say, our thought about how we can work together on environmental challenges. I think it's the last one. Yes, call for partnership. So as you understood, the hub is recent. So we are open to discuss with a lot of good vibes, I would say, and good energies. So the hub is open for sure to partners of this data center industry. So research, academics, industrial, energy provider, TCOs, whole companies with solutions want to scale these solutions and want to discuss how this solution can be implemented. Feel free to follow up, to join the next workshop, and to see if you can go further in this hub with us. I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Linda. We are under a little bit of pressure on time, so we don't have time for very much dialogue. But just to emphasize what Linda said around the Net Zero Hub, we were very happy to be part of the establishment of this hub, and we look forward to also supporting it going forward, also together with other NTAs in Europe. But what is very important, I think, is to say the first challenge is to get internally within the industry competitors to work together. And we have, I think, succeeded in at least getting everybody to the table now and start working on plans together. The next challenge and opportunity is to reach out to other industries, actually to engage and really bring the data centers into the energy systems, the utility systems, and really position our industry in a better way. Also to overcome some of the obstacles or the public perception that Linda mentioned initially. So that's going to be very exciting to follow that journey on this. We have a couple of minutes. We have put up this tiny little question that we may be able to solve very quickly. How can Europe tackle the next wave of data center investments in a sustainable way? And Linda, you said, of course, this could be one way to do it with this cooperation across competitors in the industry and with other industries. How do you see it if you look into your own company working with this challenge? I'm sure you're also facing increasing demand and the regulatory constraints, but how are you really solving this internally at Data4?
That's a good question, Henrik. We announced last week that we also signed a good partnership with a university in France, with one of the best one, which is Paris-Saclay University, the first one in Europe, as I know. Also to open our mind and to find solutions that we never explored. So one of the key way of doing is also to think a little bit differently, to have different partners, and to explore something that we never did before. As I previously said, we are a very young industry, and probably we also have to to innovate also in our way of doing business, in our relationship with partners. So that's part of the answer that we decided to do in Data4.
Thank you very much. I think due to time, I will round off the webinar now, and just first of all, thanks to our partners around this webinar. From our point of view, from Denmark, we look very much forward to continuing the partnership with our French colleagues. I think we have a good value proposition in both countries to this industry, and also, as everybody I think have mentioned, the AI development is really expected to put a lot of pressure on the industry, even more than we experience today. So we have to come up with solutions, and I think the Net Zero Innovation Hub is one good way of really attacking these challenges, and hopefully we will find other ways as well. And as Linda said, we really encourage companies with good ideas, projects, technologies to engage in this new cooperation, and hopefully we can move rather fast. That's one of the ambitions of the hub, is to actually do results in a rather short time. So it's not producing a lot of white papers and reports. It's actually getting things into the market, making a change as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I don't think we'll reach the target. So from my side, I would say thank you again for participating this afternoon. We look forward to seeing you hopefully again in Denmark. We have our Data Centers Denmark at April 30th, and then there will be another trip to France in May 29th, meeting or visiting Data4, and also engaging in further dialogue between our different companies in our countries. So thank you very much. Do you want to have a final word, Joelle, before we close the webinar?
Thank you very much, Henrik. Thanks to you all for your participation, and let's meet in Copenhagen in April, hopefully.
We'll do that.
April.
Thanks for now, and have a great day continuously.